And we're back for game number 2 of this best of 3. The Chain Stack taking on Invictus Gaming, and yeah, I mean let's call it how it is. Game 1 kind of went the way we expected. Kind of went as you would expect, with Invictus Gaming snagging a pretty impressive, pretty lopsided, pretty short Game 1 win. Took him about 25 minutes to hang that first loss on the Chain Stack, but flashes of brilliance showing in the Chain Stack early play. Early on in the game, they were actually leading 2-0. They got a first blood on Ferrari. They had some great movement from their Jakiro and their Shadow Demon. But for the most part, Invictus Gaming, and I talked about it extensively during the draft and during the game, and it just bared itself out, is if you're in a situation like the Chain Stack up against a team like Invictus Gaming, you cannot take your foot off of the pedal at all. You have to hit the gas and just turn the wheel and hope you don't flip, basically. Because Invictus Gaming, if given room, if given space, if they're able to take map control, they're going to outgrind you. They are simply going to be making better decisions because of their experience. They're going to be reacting better because of their communication. And even if there isn't a skill difference, and I'm not at all being negative about Chain Stack, I am so impressed with this team, and I think they have such a bright future ahead of them in Dota 2. But they're not there yet, and I don't think that, again, that's being unkind or being a negative caster. It's stating reality. So when you're in that situation, you have to create your own opportunities, because you're not just going to be given them by Invictus Gaming for the most part. You have to create space for your heroes to operate. And they did that really well early, and it looked like they were actually going to have a solid chance at making it through the mid-game. But Invictus Gaming, unfortunately, got into a position where they just took map control away. They had an extremely powerful push-oriented lineup, and as the towers began to drop, you saw the Chain Stack basically forced to run as 5 permanently. Their experience and farming really fell off. The movement of Invictus was just enough to pick them apart. Early on, though, here game number 2, we're going to have some very powerful heroes out. Magnus first picked by IG. I love that pick. Was actually chatting with the viewers, so thanks to you guys. But asked very often who my favorite hero is to play and to cast. And Magnus is actually the answer to both. I love the Magnosaurus. I just love that I get an excuse to use the word Magnosaurus. I mean, how awesome a word is that? It's almost as good as Balloonicorn. Not quite as good, but almost as good as Balloonicorn. But love the Magnus pickup. And yeah, going with the Lone Druid now. Whew, that is, I mean, and again, it's not like they just got, oh my god, they're certainly not going to lose now. But you get a Magnus, you get a Lone Druid. Magnus is going to be able to empower the bear. You have the defensive and offensive capabilities of the Shadow Demon. And already you've got a lot of big-time fight potential early on. Druid, if he gets off to a good start, will certainly be quite happy to go with an Armlet Maelstrom build or something similar just to give him the early punching power he needs to fight confidently, both in and around, or under towers as well as away from towers, I should say. Then you're going to have Magnus to not only contribute to the reverse polarity and, of course, the early spam ability of Shockwave. And it is really easy to underestimate how important abilities like Shockwave are actually in the first 20 minutes. Shockwave is a lot of damage and a pretty wide AoE. I mean, the animation doesn't look like it's that wide. But following up, getting a reverse polarity and landing an immediate Shockwave right after on 2 or 3 heroes, that's actually huge. Like, that's like, I mean, if you catch enough heroes with a Shockwave, you're talking in excess of 1,000 damage being dealt out with one ability collectively across the other team. And it's real easy to focus instead on reverse polarity because that's the big money spell and the value of Empower, especially with the Lone Druid on the map. But if you want a lineup that wants to fight early, Magnus actually is stronger earlier than he is later. And that sounds really intuitive, and it sounds almost too obvious. But he's stronger than he gets a lot of credit for. It's kind of what I'm driving at. And he's not only going to be strong in his own right, he's going to make Lone Druid better. He's going to make any other damage dealer better just by virtue of Empower. And to be honest, if Magnus is able to get himself off to a good start, I'm seeing more and more often. And for the longest time, it was maybe Magnus players would go 1-1-1 and then focus Shockwave and focus Empower. Or excuse me, and focus Skewer. But more and more, I'm starting to see players, especially those on teams and in compositions that like to fight earlier in the game rather than later in the game, put a lot more emphasis and a lot more oomph on getting Empower maxed out first. So we'll see what skill build he wants to do. I really wouldn't be surprised one little bit to see Empower get a lot more attention from Invictus this time around. The Chain Stack going to complete their first 3 with the Animage. And see, I don't mind the Animage pick at all. In fact, the Chain Stack, I'm almost positive, actually ran for the first time in more than 6 to 8 months. Ran an Animage that I saw build in a professional game, go Vanguard first, and then play a completely completely mid-game oriented Anti-Mage, and they did really well with it. So I'm not going to sleep on that. The problem is, though, that Anti-Mage, even to go a build like that, still has to have a good start. And having a Nyx Assassin and a Rubik goes a long way with that. However, their lanes are pretty obvious right now. They could end up midding the Nyx Assassin if they really want to. I'd be a little surprised to see that. I think he's probably going to wind up in the tri-lane along with Rubik and Anti-Mage. So that makes their lane very predictable. And with the Lone Druid already picked out, Invictus Gaming was probably going to offensively tri-lane anyway. So what you've done if you're the chain stack is you picked a hero who really just doesn't contribute much early on into a lineup that's already going to want to be in his face. Like, there's just no doubt about it. Now, the chain stack could do something interesting, like try to solo the Anti-Mage versus the Lone Druid and, and run some other kind of a tri-lane. So, I mean, there are options available to them. But the big problem is that Anti-Mage is going to be a liability early until he gets up whatever core item he's going for, be it a Battle Fury build to try and survive to the late game, which I really don't think they're going to do. I suspect that the chain stack is going to end up going with that build that we saw last time, just because again, the pushing power that Invictus Gaming showed us Lone Druid has, and especially with the Magnus to help them fight earlier on, that's too much of a liability to just assume Anti-Mage can freely farm the jungle for 40 minutes and then all of a sudden be a monster. Like, I just don't think that they have the confidence necessarily to run that kind of a build on him. I could be wrong, but it's certainly something they're going to be talking over. And a lot of it's going to be influenced by the way the laning phase goes as well. Now, taking a look at the bans out from the chain stack, very similar to what we saw in Game 1 from them. They know that there's going to be some early game push potential coming out of Invictus Gaming, banning out the Brewmaster, the Juggernaut, just trying to reduce that as much as they can. IG, on the other hand, just taking out strong heroes, and taking out two heroes in particular. They could actually mid against Magnus pretty well. That's the DK and the Queen of Pain. DK, a hero that when he does get played in it, it's fairly rare-ish now. I mean, he's not like some huge, like, oh my god, they picked DK kind of a hero. But when he does get picked, he does have a tendency to wind up in mid now. You just don't see a lot of safe lane, tri-lane DKs that much anymore. You usually just want to put him up against a hero like a Magnus where he can confidently soak up some experience. He'll be able to get up a quick bottle. He'll be able to rely on Breathe Fire to get some last hits and to do some damage, much the same way that Magnus relies on his Shockwave in that regard. And, of course, the Queen of Pain, just another really strong mid that Magnus doesn't want to have to deal with. So, still waiting on the bans to finish themselves out. But if I had to wager, what I suspect we may see out of IG might be a Luna pickup. If the chain stack don't ban her, I would not be a bit surprised. Because Lena or Lesh, one of the two, is definitely going to make it through at this point unless Invictus bans one of those two, which I don't think they will. So if we see Lena and Lesh either or make it through, I think they could put together a very effective offensive tri-lane with a Luna, a Shadow Demon, and a Lesh or a Lena. That might be what they're thinking. Again, you want to get that Druid 9 times out of 10, and it could go either way, by the way. They could also safe lane the Magnus, or they could safe lane the Druid. Yeah, they're just going to ban another mid, and I don't mind that at all. I was thinking they might actually ban Puck, but taking out the TA makes a ton of sense. You're going to reduce the potential punching power of the chain stack with that pick, or that ban, I should say. Prevent them from picking it, give Magnus an even easier time there in mid. Now the chain stack, given the way they're banning teamfight, they could end up banning a Puck or something like that here, maybe even an Invoker. But it's really hard to call. But back to what I think Invictus Gaming is going to be up to here, is they're going to try to isolate the Magnus and the Lone Druid. And that's the heroes crave a solo lane. You want those two heroes in solo situations where they're going to be okay. And they're going to ban the Lesh. Now, Invictus Gaming has the option of picking a Lena or just saying the hell with it. Oh, wow, they're actually going to get a Tinker. Okay, now that's interesting. Now, Tinker, we saw just how much anti-push a Tinker has. The question becomes is where are they going to lane this? What they might end up doing is defensively tri-laning the Druid. And that wouldn't be all that surprising to me either. I really thought they were just going to go ahead and run a strong offensive tri-lane, and Lena would have been a big part of that because of Lunar Blessing and the strength of that ability in general. So the Chains now has to react. But I don't feel like the Chains, Tinker's going to give you a lot. And I'll tell you what we might see out of Tinker. What we might see is a very gank-oriented, damage-oriented build. We might see him put 1 point into March early, but instead focus predominantly on laser and rocket spam. And they're going to go and grab a Chen. So, yeah, there you go. And Again, the way they want to lane this is going to be pretty wide open to them. With the Chin pickup, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to see him run offensively. You're just, I mean, actually more than that. 99 times out of 100, you're not going to see him run offensively. And what you'll usually see is, you know, him in the defensive jungle, of course. Then they can stick the Lone Druid down there. They can give him the Shadow Demon support if they want. But they could actually run this very creatively. They've got 2 heroes in Magnus and Druid that can long lane if they want. They could end up doing something like a 2-2-1 with a Chen in the jungle, Tinker in the safe lane, then running something like a Mag and a Shadow Demon top. But we'll have to wait and see. Moving on in. This is game 2 of this best of 3 between the Chain Stack and Invictus Gaming. Invictus Gaming leads 1-0 after a very solid win in game number 1. Let's run through our lineups. Who's going to be handling who? We're going to have Faith playing on our Shadow Demon. Going to have Zoe. Right back on our Lone Druid this time around. YYF will be playing our Mag. Ferrari is actually on our Tinker, so it will be a mid-Tinker this time around. Chen will be handled by Chuan. And, yeah, still waiting for the lanes to take shape. Yeah, they're actually going to... Okay, this makes sense. I said they might solo the Tinker safe lane, but they're actually going to solo Zoe down here with Chen in the jungle. So basically just a quick little flip on what I suspected they might. I did accurately guess Magnus plus the Shadow Demon, though. And this makes sense. It is going to be a situation that the Chain Stack can abuse and have a chance to capitalize on, though. So it's all going to come down to execution, as it always does. But how about we take a look at the Chain Stack, see where they are with their lineups. Risk the Captain will be running on our Rattle Trap, the Clockwork Goblin. Minerva will be playing on Rubik. Nyx Assassin will be handled by Legendary. We're going to have Chains, the eponymous member of this team, handling our Anti-Mage, and Johnny, who really had a lot of trouble on poor Tinker in game 1. And he actually plays a pretty good Tinker. The problem is he just had no room to operate. So he'll be on our Windrunner this time. And it's going to be a mid-Windrunner. And we're going to have the long lane Clockwork. So, yeah, I mean, pretty standard stuff here. I didn't really get a chance to go through it just because the last pick came out. We're still kind of talking about IG. But are they... Never mind. They rotated one back down here. They have the Shadow Demon down here. I thought Faith was going to stick up there, but instead just going to be a long lane Magnus. And this is okay. You get a little bit of help from being able to skewer away. But when you look at what the Chain Stack have to catch him out with, he should have a really hard time up here. Telekinesis into Impale. And how easy it'll be for Chains to pursue him out if he does get caught out. Not to mention, I'm sure we'll see at least 1 point in the mana break early. And 1 point in the mana break will make it so if he takes any damage at all, his mana pool is just going to be completely negated. We can already see the bear is actually being used by Zoe up here to help out YYF. So this is a very good call. And this is just good teamwork. Very, very good way to use both of these heroes. And already we can see the experience going to be soaked up by YYF. He's already level 2. And I just love this. I think this is so smart. The Spirit Bear being used to help out his buddy to make this lane a much better lane for him. The guarantee he gets his experience. Clockwork just about level 2 as well. He's going to try to interrupt the jungle pulling here of IG, but he will be chased away by Faith. And yeah, this is just really, really cool stuff coming out of IG. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Taking a look at the rest of the supports, Minerva still sitting with not a single point of experience. Nyx Assassin, basically in the same boat. That will be changing as a couple drop here, but yeah, this is a lane that obviously is going to do well and get the Anti-Mage off to a good start. But again, the question is going to be is how does he build? I feel like it's really taking a big chance if he decides to go with a Battle Fury. He's not going to be able to fight when IG is going to be able to capitalize on their potential. Having the Chen here, didn't really talk a whole lot about the Chen. But Shin's going to start to push here early. In fact, we may see them just go ahead and start trying to take this tier 1. We're going to see the cogs go down. But IG playing very aggressive. We see the Hellbear Smasher, #1 name 2013. Helping to zone out Clockwork. And now going to work on this. And yeah, this is kind of comes down to what I was talking about. Where IG's not going to be able to fight with the Battle Fury when they need to. We're already going to start seeing towers being pressured by IG. This is the right call. Shin's there, and it's only going to get worse as he gets more and more levels. And this is not a team who's going to take this tower then sit back. They may just push through and force a reaction out of Chains. Because at this point, given how little experience these supports have right now. Actually, Nyx is in pretty good shape. Minerva's just level 1 still yet, though. But they've got a ton of pushing power already between the Spirit Bear and between Zoe. And we can already see Risk being zoned out. He's level 3, but still, obviously, can't tank through too much. But they're just going to continue to do this. And if the Anti-Mage does go with your cookie-cutter Battle Fury build, he's going to start to lose towers and not be able to come fight in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes is going to be the big worry, I think, for them. G-1 should be level 6 by then, obviously. Magnus is actually doing great. Halfway to level 4. And he's sitting at 9 last hits. I mean, that's impressive. He's got almost as many last hits in this long lane as Zoe does in the safe lane. So he's doing a great job, and again, helped out by the Spirit Bear. Chains, though, farming up quite well. Don't want to take anything away from him. Sitting at 25 last hits at just around 4 minutes into this game. Ferrari versus Johnny. Johnny not coming out ahead here. Taking some damage. Looks like Chuan's asking for a pause. Yep, there we go. Not sure what the problem is. Yep, looks like we're going to have a reload, maybe some lag issues. One way or the other. Very good manner coming out of Legendary from the chain stack. But that gives me a moment to thank you guys for being here and remind you that you need to check out G1.2p.com, the coverage hub for the G1 League. You can catch your caster hub there. You can bounce between this channel, between Beyond the Summit. If you're a Rusky, you can listen to Russian broadcasts, what have you. Lots of cool articles and write-ups, interviews, you name it. Not to mention the ability to interact with us in real time via Twitter. So we're always trying to answer our tweets in between games and during downtime and all that. So again, that's G1.2p.com. Make sure you bookmark it, start your day off there, just like you start your day off right here on One More Game TV 2. Speaking of One More Game TV 2, we just had a big milestone yesterday. And most of you are going to know this already, but for those who perhaps have just showed up and don't, we rolled past 10 million lifetime views on this channel yesterday. And 10 million is a big number, but given how young this channel happens to be, this channel has only existed since September. So about 6 months, more than 1.5 million views per month here on One More Game TV 2. And to celebrate, I'm going to be giving away 10 games on Steam. All you got to do is just hang out. Just hang out after the broadcast here today. I'll probably drop the stream so I can reduce the delay to none, so I can interact with you guys in real time. And I'll be giving away 10 games on Steam. A couple of copies of Rome Total War, Civilization 4, LA Noire, Fallout New Vegas. Some pretty good games. Some of my favorites, actually. That's how I chose the games I'd give away. There's a lot of my favorite games from my personal favorites collection. So again, after the conclusion of this series, make sure you don't go anywhere. Hang out with us and maybe pick up a free game or two. And now we're going to see the dive on Risk. Can't even call it a dive since the tier 1's already gone. That's a dead rattle trap. That's a first blood. And you can put that into the back pocket of Faith. So this bottom lane going about as you would expect with the Lone Druid and with the Chen. And the Druid now beginning to catch up and farm a bit. He's up to 18. Tinker sitting right underneath the Anti-Mage at 25 up against Windrunner. Windrunner has made up a little bit of ground now. She's at 14. Was getting utterly outclassed, but now merely being doubled up, which is certainly no small feat. YYF is actually, he's level 5 and almost has his Arc Boots. That's insane. He is a higher level than the Anti-Mage in this tri-lane. A long lane Magnus should not be able to do this. He should be zoned out and should be in trouble. Getting help from Zoe, and the Spirit Bear certainly a big part of that. But still, Chains somewhat struggling to keep this mag down. He's going to have Arc Boots at 6 minutes. Like, he should have them. Yeah, if he doesn't die, now they're going to catch him. He's telekinesed, but are they able to finish it up? They're going to dive it. They're going to go for it. They should be able to get him. He salves, making his way towards the secret shop. He's almost got enough to buy his Arc Boots. No, he's actually, I thought he was going to go try to buy his boots. No help's coming. He's still making his way down towards mid lane. Legendary still pursuing. Wow. Barely able to get away. Impale. Just with enough mana, but came up just a bit late. So yeah, Magnus has a 6-minute set of Arc Boots in a 1 versus 3 long lane situation. He has had a phenomenal early game, walked between the raindrops there, able to keep himself alive. That salve made all the difference, it really did. And we're going to see Johnny get disrupted here. Little damage being done, Soul Catcher tossed out, but the Windrun going to get him back to safety, no problem. 38 last hits, the top of the board for Anti-Mage. Still keeping an eye on where he's going. He will be going Battle Fury. Picked up his Ring of Health and his Claymore now. And I don't mind that absolutely at all, because he is off to such a good start. He's going to have 50 last hits at just about 7.5, 8 minutes in. That's really good farm. But it's not like Zoe's really that far behind. He's right there with him. And he will be going with an armlet as he has picked up his Helm of Ironwill. And, you know, as anticipated, figured that'd be the build. Oh, here comes the Centaur around the back. There's a disruption. Risk going to be stunned out with the Stomp. That's a very unhappy Rattletrap. Now, though, they might get a return kill. Faith to target. Minerva's in trouble. Very slow and just level 4. Will make it to the high ground before the Centaur can pick him up. We see one sent home via Chuan. The Chuan Express getting his buddy back to safety. Shadow Demon quite happy to be healing himself up. And now, re-engagement. They may be able to get Chuan. They will. Good movement there. So getting a return kill certainly not going to hurt anything. Little pressure now in mid being shown as YYF and Ferrari are laying into the tier 1 mid. Risk back up and trying to fight. Zoe's going to get an eye on him, though. Doesn't look like he's going to commit to trying to do much of anything. Just going to go back to farm. We'll have his armlet up before too terribly long. Again, Helm of Ironwill already on the way with 1,000 gold in the bank, or 900 gold, I should say, give or take, in the bank. The Arc Boot's done on Mag, now going to begin banking up towards his Blink Dagger. And I'm really curious how Chains is going to play out the mid-game, and I'll explain that in a moment. Risk will be disrupted for the moment. That's going to give Johnny a chance to grab that rune. No level 6 on Legendary yet, so can't pursue with Vendetta. But yeah, like, they have a team that has a lot of reach. A team that can apply pressure in a surgical way. They can look to take team fights on the back of Clockwork's hook. Clockwork is going to have his hook soon, so I mean, even though he had a couple of deaths and lost his tower early, he is at least on par with levels moderately so. But with Animation going Battle Fury here, that's going to be a big window of time when they're going to have to defend by themselves. Now, granted, he is very close. He's going to have his Battle Fury like 11, 12 minutes. So he's in great shape. But from, say, 12 minutes in to 25 minutes in, at the very least, he's not really going to be able to fight. He is not going to be able to show up and defend towers reliably. And my question is, what is Chainstack going to do to keep IG from doing what they did in Game 1? What are they going to, especially now that they have Tinker on their own team, what are they going to do to keep IG from just going, okay, we've got an armlet now on our Lone Druid. Chen is level 6. He's got a mech, which he should have. Yeah, he's going to have he has the buckler right now if he wants it. But yeah, I mean, Chen's going to be level 6 momentarily with Hand of God. What are they going to do to buy any mage the time that he needs? Because heroes like Nyx Assassin, as good as they are in team fights, and he is excellent because of Carapace, Impale actually has a slightly larger AoE than really you think it does. You can reliably catch 2 heroes at least with an Impale if it's placed well in a team fight. So they've got heroes like that, like a Windrunner. Shackle Shot's excellent. Rubik functions well in all situations. They have a team that can team fight. But for the most part, the heroes they have in the manner they have them as a part of this composition, this is a lineup much more geared towards picking off individual heroes or taking small skirmishes. This is a team where you don't necessarily want to go 4-on-4, but you do want to get a Nyx Assassin and a Rubik, for example, into the enemy jungle and apply pressure that way. But if the enemy team is going to do what they're looking to do now, which is just hook up, stay together, and probably start to look for pick and push really soon and just commit to that full time, that kind of a style is not going to really be able to shine. And that's really what an Animage needs to be able to have the room to get the most out of this Battle Fury. Battle Fury's essentially done, if he doesn't die anyway. We've got 3 here. That's going to be Chuan, YYF, and Faith. And here we go. Oh, what a beautiful RP. Caught Chains. Down he goes. What else can be said? Tinker TP's in, but not even needed. But yeah, and now what can they do, really? And I'm not harping on them. I'm just trying to demonstrate it to the viewers. Like, okay, that happened. They can't contest this tier 1 at all. The best they can hope to do is try to trade a tier 1 elsewhere, maybe in mid, but that tower's full health. So that's a free kill on the carrier. That delays the Battle Fury. Keeps him off the board. They get a free tier 1. Now, if they decide to push through in both bottom and top, what can they do? Any mage cannot fight right now. Can certainly push down Risk's throat. And these 4, by themselves, especially once RP is off cooldown again in 75 seconds, they're going to be able to push by themselves. Don't even have to have Zoe. But they may just hook up with Zoe and say to hell with it. I mean, the armlet's done. It's going to be perma-toggled on the bear now. And very likely to just go with another Maelstrom build. Very typical build now. But what can they do here? You've got supports that want farm. Anti-Mage has a Battle Fury, not even a Battle Fury yet. And yeah, they're just going to do this over and over again. Good shackle. Beautiful shackle from Johnny. Caught the bear, but didn't really do much of anything. It was one of those that was prettier to see. Now we're going to have re-engagement, but no, he spotted out with the sentry. They are forced back. Legendary in trouble. There's the hook. Gonna catch at least two. Faith gonna disrupt himself. Legendary will be picked up in the meantime. Risk about to drop as well. So much damage done by March of the Machines. Hand of God came out at the perfect time from G-1. And they take another tower, and they're just gonna push. Anti-Mage cannot come fight. Minerva, oh, another beautiful shack. I'll tell you what, Johnny's a hell of a Dota player, man. Seems like every time I've casted that guy, he has made good plays consistently. I love shackle shots, too. Shackle shots are just one of those really fun abilities to broadcast. But anyway, they are going to back off. I'm actually surprised they're backing off here. I don't feel like it's necessary at all. 5-1, 13 minutes in. The tower's beginning to disappear again for Chain Stack. Not a single Tier 1 remaining. All three Tier 1s remain for IG. The gold, 7,500 to their advantage. 5,000 experience to their advantage. Ferrari, with his bots, his soul ring, he's got a staff at the Magi. We'll see what he wants to do with that. Number of options he could go with, so I'm just not going to guess. We'll just wait to see what he shows us. Chains finally did complete his Battle Fury. Now going to work in the jungle. 14-minute Battle Fury is still a good time on that item. So, I mean, he's not in awful shape, but again, I think I kind of harped on it and hit all the high points. This lineup is not meant to fight this way. Not against a Magnus and a Chen. Not at 15 minutes into the game. And Zoe, still looking great. He will be going with the Maelstrom, one can only imagine. He's picked up the Glove of Haste. Now just going to be banking towards that Mithril Hammer. 1,600 gold will have it up and available, which should come pretty quickly. Magnus is going to have his Blink Dagger, and if you think life's hard whenever Mag has to skewer an RP to catch your anti-mage, wait till he can blink. Mag about 200 gold away, 300 gold away, give or take now. Windrunner working on her 4th staff. Has picked up her phase boots. Has the Staff of Wizardry as well. Nothing but arc boots done on Legendary. And yeah, like at this point, and this is what I'm talking about, Chains can't even reliably farm the jungle. He's running around with a quarter health because he's farming the jungle, waiting for the creep wave to push back his direction. I mean, before you get treads up at least, it's really when you get the Yasha on the way to a Manta or something along those lines, even if you go Vlad's, that's when you can really start to flash farm the jungle. As of right now, he still has some time before he even becomes a threat in terms of his farming potential. Does have treads done now if he wants them. He's got 1,000 gold to go with his tier 1s. But anyway, here we go. IG rattling their saber down mid. They're going to sell out. Rocket spam. Good carapace there from Legendary. Gets a little damage done to Ferrari. But you just can't fight into this. They just cannot, absolutely cannot engage into this. We see Hand of God, ready to go. What an RP. Caught 3, skewering 2 back. Oh, wow. Chuan, you man. Or excuse me, YYF, you beast. You beast. Caught 3, killed 1, skewered 2 back. They're at the tier 3. It's 16 minutes into this ball game. Into this ball game, because that's what it is. It's a ball game. It's a Dota game. And IG looking like they're about ready to put an exclamation point on this one. So actually picked up a gem, just because why not? Oh well, another skewer back, gonna catch Legendary. He's cleaned up, and now the re-engagement. Oh, only got 1, and Ferrari actually's bounced out of it. The bear now laying into poor Risk. Risk making a run for it. But they do get their first set of racks. Now Chains wants to fight, he's gonna be disrupted. And Mana Void looks like he wanted to use it. He's just going to bang him down. Finally uses the Void to secure a kill. Zoe leading the charge, pursuing out Chains. Chains doesn't have enough mana to blink, actually. So he's a ground walker like the rest of them. Now he does, and he will. Tinker's back up and looking for a target. As is, though, make it 9-3. 2 tier 2s remaining. However, only 2 sets of melee racks up as well. 14,000 gold the advantage for Invictus Gaming. 7,500 experience. And I don't really feel like Chains has necessarily played a bad game of Dota. I feel like you could say it's been an outdraft, or they did not draft the team they needed here. But given Invictus Gaming did show us the Tinker and the Chin picks last, that's them adapting to C-Stack. And it worked out about as I thought it would. Just not enough room to free things up for the Anti-Mage. The pushing power, way too high. The potential for Invictus Gaming to take these fights this early. Demanded some kind of counter push, demanded some kind of, not just initiation, because they get that from Risk, who actually trapped himself in there. But they needed something else to follow it up, and they just haven't had it. With the mech, with Hand of God now, they could just perma-push, basically. Shackle will connect, gonna catch the Dark Troll Warlord, but not much else. Ferrari's back up and ready to fight. More March of the Machines. Rocket's doing good damage all over the place. And Chain Stack perhaps using their last clip of the game. Can't even really come anywhere near this to even try to fight because of Ferrari. And tower should be dropping momentarily. And it will, courtesy of the Spirit Bear. Spirit Bear now doing his bloody business, bringing down the second set of melee racks. And Chains can't really do anything. Here we go. They are going to reinitiate. Now the follow-up Impale going to come up short. Hand of God keeps him up and fighting. Poor Risk basically just killed himself there. Now the re-engagement, though. RP catches 3 again. YYF, you monster. GG comes out, and can you blame him? Chain Stack, the Cinderella story, wakes up from the fairy tale in a very rough way here in game 2. 2-0. Invictus Gaming gonna sweep the Sensations from Southeast Asia. They improved their record here in Phase 3 to 1-0. Chain Stack drops to 0-1. And again, I don't think anyone's surprised by this result. It's freaking Invictus Gaming. I mean, what more do you really expect? I mean, let's just be honest here. Let's just call it what it is. Still, I feel like Chain Stack showed some resiliency. I feel like they showed their ability to execute, at least in the early stages of these games. I was impressed with their execution in the first 5 to 10 minutes in game 1. But Invictus Gaming, just a bit too much. A bit too scary. Gonna be just about 20 minutes by the time this Ancient blows. Thanks again to each and every one of you for tuning in here on One More Game TV2. Don't forget, I'm gonna be giving away 10 Steam games. 10 Steam games gonna be given away just as soon as we close up shop and finish up this broadcast for the G-1 Champions League. All in celebration of us surpassing 10 million views here on One More Game TV2, and that is thanks to you guys. 19 minutes, 59 seconds, and a suitably impressive win for Invictus Gaming. Chain Stack, again, drops 0-1, drops to 0-1 in Phase 3. IG, off to a great start.